Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trekker's Delight. We're live. It's Thursday, and tonight we're reviewing episodes 15 and 16 of Season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy, Ascension, Part 1 and 2.
Excelente.
So, I'm Keith F. Shufflin here with Jason McCammon and William W. Walford. Will, what do you say, Will?
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Every other vote.
And you gotta admit, the dude that was coming down the aisle, he was kind of cute. I'd have carried him on my shoulder.
Here we are. Welcome once again to Trekker's Delight.
Like, literally, my mic falls down just as we go live. Hi, everybody.
Who you gonna be?
The captain of the Enterprise Z.
Love that baseball and the teacup, like clearly TNG DS9 fans.
Demand that we see power rates at some point in this season.
What is going on?
The power has shit to do with the power race.
No, everybody, this is actually one of the main screenwriters for Prodigy, so we are super excited to hear from you. And also, I'm a little embarrassed for being as critical.
Man, I really love that intro.
This was a nice touch.
All right. Man, I really like that intro, William.
I mean, it was a nice touch.
We are back, and what do we got here?
It grows on you. No, it just. I feel like it's just getting more and more annoying every time I hear.
You know what's crazy? It's crazy. Marie just messaged me saying you're up here, y'all up here nicking my thing, and I said, "Oh, who?" She said, "Bean footage, you ass."
What? You do that in honor?
I think she's watching right now.
You do that out of love.
Wait, so she's sitting there with the pot. She's sitting there with the pot and the spoon, and once you hit live, she goes, "Okay, time to make the bean footage."
Oh my god, this is gonna be good. Oh, this is gonna be good.
Marie, we do that because of you. Out of love and respect for you.
Because we love you. We love you, and we've been doing this for about a year now.
Seriously, I even have William say it when we do Trek That.
So what if I stole it from Bush's first? I don't know who Bush's is. It's spelled B-U-S-C.
Oh, dude, how do you still
Bush,
not
that's
know
where
that?
the beans are. That's who makes the beans.
Is this a Goonie reference or something? Like
no, it's a food. It's in the
Bush's baked
food. It's
Bush's
all the time.
The baked beans?
Yes.
Okay, I gotta be real with you. I never pay attention to the brand or the label. I just eat it. Like,
okay.
But
yeah,
yes,
I
do remember
the thing
the brown can, right? The brown can, like.
I think the weirdest thing is that you didn't ask Marie. What are you talking about? Bean footage. What does that even mean? Why are we saying that? If you had no reference to it, it doesn't make any sense.
Baked beans right now.
It was the Bush's Baked Beans ads in which it was the dog Duke was leaking the secret recipe for it, but they say roll that beautiful bean footage, and then they would show the footage of the beans being cooked. And
see, I didn't even know that's where she got that.
You just roll with it, huh?
Dude, how many years?
I just ate it. Like I never pay attention to food commercials. That I remember. Okay, from the 90s. Since we're here, I remember the jewelry commercial. Every kiss begins with K. And then I remember JCPenney, I love your style. And then there's Subway, eat fresh. Like that. That's what I remember. Like that's that. I never seen no Bush's. I didn't even know they had a commercial. I just remember seeing it at Kroger and getting it and mixing it in with some meat. And now you got some baked beans with assorted beef. So like That's it. I'm terrible with brand names when it comes to food. I'm terrible. I can't even tell you who makes ramen. I just know that my favorite one is the chicken flavored one that comes in an orange packet. We go by flavors and color codes. That's what we go by.
But that's like Kool-Aid.
Right. It's red and it's sweet. Like, yeah.
Anyway, now that we're done with that, there is some Star Trek we were going to talk about.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
That is literally why it's funny. That is why it is funny.
I knew she was going to come in.
My god! That is why it is funny. It is funny because I am alluding to Bush's baked beans. Like, we are Bush's baked beans because, frankly, some of us have come on here way too fucking baked.
Bro, like, you've been saying this for almost 2 to 3 years now. 3 years, and it's like, I never put that together. I
am supposed to be working right now, and I had to come on to correct your child ass. I love you, Will. I do.
I love you,
know
Marie. I love you. This is great. We love a good cameo. We love a good cameo. We always have.
Oh, someone left?
No, he booted himself.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, this.
I do it. Keith said, "I'm getting too over this shit. I'm tired."
Right. He said, "How long are we gonna talk about beans?"
But also, speaking of beans, Jason, you volunteered to fall on the sword of recap. So go, my dude.
Okay. Here's. All right. So where are we at? Ascension 1 and 2. I feel like we've been going on a roller coaster like the past few episodes, and this kind of slowed down the pacing at the beginning. Everything was calm and somber. We had Chakotay back. We had the Protostar and Voyager all together. Janeway sort of making a plan, think about a plan to get the Protostar back. Basically, they got to get the Protostar back to the future at some point. So she talks to Jellicoe, and of course, this asshat is not down with that plan. He's ordering her to bring the Protostar back. He doesn't trust them to finish out the goal.
Why would he?
Right?
Is asshat a little strong here?
It's a little strong, but you know what? It's Jellicoe, and I always have a like. He always when he doesn't seem mean to me, I'm surprised. I'm like, oh, he just said something and he didn't seem mean. I think that's also like in my book, like most admirable things in Star Trek. But the asshat is probably a little harsh. So of course the crew feels like they should be doing it, and they should be the ones to save the Protostar and the universe as they know it. And so does Janeway, but actually Chakotay and her first officer are both like, nah, maybe they're right. Maybe we're a little too close to this, and we should step back and let a grander scale of people take care of this grand plan. Meanwhile, Zero's not feeling too good. Zero's not feeling good at all. Zero is degrading, and the doctor can't figure out a way past it. So they decide, you know what? You're going to lose this body, bro, but we're going to get you a new one, and we're going to build you better than you were before. You're going to keep all your senses. You'll get the bad ones, but you'll get the good ones. So don't worry about it. We're going to take care of you. Meanwhile, they get a distress call from a stranded ship, and it's none other than Gwen's father, the good one. Now, we're always talking about the good one. And he's warning them of an impending attack because Ascension has grown too much power on their planet, and she is planning to attack Starfleet at some point. And then and he unveils this time thing that Gwen is doing. So he's got these bubbles, and inside these bubbles, time is moving.
Yeah.
And
not Gwen, Ascension.
Ascension, sorry, yes. Inside these bubbles,
That is
time
a
is moving
minorly important differential.
way faster.
Yeah. But
I mean, all of a sudden the villain of Prodigy just turns into Gwen, and it's all Jason. Jason's rewriting all of the season right here.
It might work out better that way. You never know.
That's true. That's true. Well done.
Anyway, in these bubbles, time goes by in months, and time that goes by in our hours. Kind of like that episode on Stargate, I would think, with the replicators. But
ooh, that's a new Star franchise to bring in. Well done.
So she's building weapons at a huge speed. Anyway, she knocks out her dad and gets him off the screen. She comes on the screen and she threatens Janeway. Janeway isn't having it. But then Ascension sends Ascension, right? Yes. She sends this huge ship through some type of it like beamed through there.
Transwarp tunnel.
What's that, Keith?
A transwarp tunnel.
Was it a transwarp tunnel? Because to me it looked like half of it was there and not there, kind of like in Star Trek 2009, how like half the ship was coming out of like a portal.
Oh, that was the black hole.
Oh, portal.
Quantum singularity, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Anyway, that may or might not be right, but this thing's huge. It's massive, and it shoots this big old beam at Voyager, sucking all of its energy out, and starts nailing. The Protostar with torpedoes. Hologram Janeway calls real Janeway to get some help, and she sends over Chakotay. He brings over the kids. Now there's a double fight. Meanwhile, we've realized that the reason why Ascension has these new time powers is because she got Wesley somehow. He's under her control, and she's been somehow stealing information from him. So anyway, what he does is he sends her a false projection of the future that this new weapon she has is going to destroy the Protostar and Voyager. So she shoots out this weapon, this missile that embeds itself in the ship and grows time massively at a field, and this field's growing. The only person who can go in this field to stop it is Zero, because Zero is technically alive the way that we are. And they end up sending the thing back to her ship and destroying it. And that pretty much sums up most of it. What went on? And Wesley did that on purpose, but she feels like what she did learn from the whole experience was that the Federation didn't even come to save them. They didn't save one ship. So she sees a vulnerability in those two Federation ships. And there we are. And now we're in the game. The game of Ascension. Well,
it covered everything. Pretty quick summation.
Pretty quick. Skipped over a few things, but
Yeah.
Time. And we're talking about time in this show.
I promise the world will not end with a short summation.
So what are we talking about here? Do you think that now I guess we'd be in our personal feelings if we're like, no, let them go save the Protostar. They've been doing it this whole time. Or do you think Starfleet was like in its rights? It's like, okay, pull them out of there. Let's take care of it.
I actually like the decision to allow the children to do what they need to do.
Right.
When Chakotay... Go ahead.
Now, admittedly, I may be misremembering this because I'm up to my eyeballs in work. But isn't this also the same episode where we get like that amazing run on the Death Star? Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever on Ascension's automated ship.
It was similar, but that was first of all, that was a long fight. Like there was a lot happening. And
2 episodes worth.
And it's like, wow, most fights do not last this long.
I mean, I don't know what science fiction you're watching that
Space
they don't
battle
last
fights?
this long, but these days they kind of do.
Yeah.
The 90s Trek I grew up with, fights lasted an entire season.
I mean, if we were in Doctor Who, the whole thing would last like 6 episodes.
Well, that could happen.
Well, older Doctor Who, not current Doctor Who. But what I want to point out here, though, is I want to talk a little bit about Dal, because Dal makes some really, really great choices in these couple of episodes. There's this whole conversation about Dal joining Magel's version of Red Squad, and you know, like how, or Red Squad, Nova Squadron, I'm not sure. What do they call it?
Nova.
Thank you. Right. So like, and you know, initially Dal misses the practice, and then and they're all like, well, what is this guy gonna do? Is he gonna be competent? And the thing about it is we're really, really seeing this incredible emotional maturation of Dal in a way that we haven't actually seen prior to this, because you know, he doesn't rise to the bait. He just is like, I'm here, I'm gonna do my thing, whatever. And then when Magel needs him, he hops in a fighter and he goes and he attacks this ship. And also, I've said this before, but can we have a moment to just appreciate the ship designs in Prodigy?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminded me of the Shinjo, but not exactly, just because of the sleekness of it.
I mean, it's just gorgeous. And I love that Prodigy. I hate to bring up the Orville. I really do, because I don't actually like that show for a lot of really complicated reasons. But one of the things that the Orville does is it actually created a character, Norm Macdonald's character, Maffet, to be radically different and to kind of push the envelope of what we used to see in TNG. Prodigy is doing that, but it's doing that in a really inclusive way. It's across the board, because Prodigy is 100% animated and it's just beautiful.
You know, it's like we started getting that same thing with like Discovery.
Yeah. I mean, I said this when we were covering Discovery, but I really feel like Discovery had kind of finally figured out where it was and what it was going, and then it got canceled.
Right.
But Prodigy, I mean, I think saying I love this show is not a shock.
Right.
But one of the things I love about Prodigy is Prodigy has had its eye on the ball the entire time. Prodigy has known where it was going, what it was going to do. Yeah, we've had some missteps. We have. But it's never really been anything that was going to derail the entire season. You know, I think Prodigy knew, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say, given that we have now reached the limit of what I have actually seen, I don't think it's a spoiler to say Dal's not moving toward the captain seat right now.
Right. He's not.
Right.
And so what Dal does in these couple of episodes is he's like, okay, where is the best place that I can fit to serve, and I mean, forgive the use of the term, the collective. Like, where is the best place that I can serve to do the greatest good for the most amount of people? And that is not leading the way Gwyn is. That's basically jumping into a fighter and handling it, because it turns out that Dal's a really competent pilot when he lets his ego go.
Well, yeah, that's sort of a maturity that we've seen with Dal.
Yeah, absolutely.
One, that you're seeing him not fight for first officer, you know, where Gwyn's position is. Two, when he walks into the holodeck and wants to fight in the simulation with the guys, he doesn't. Before, he would have been like, "Hey man, you need me. I'm so great because I'm Dal and I'm pew pew pew. I'm gonna shoot up this hologram, this holodeck, whatever." Now he's just like, "Hey, I know what I know, but I can learn more, and I'm here to learn from you, someone that's better than me." You know, he's just completely humble. He's very humble about his approach.
but humility in the sense of being like reaffirmed with who he is as a person, right? Because previously what we've seen out of Dal is this, this performative masculine ego,
right?
And now we're finally getting Dal, and that's when Dal screws up, right? Like that's when Dal is too good to read Temporal Mechanics 101, William.
Right.
That's
but
when
that was
Dal
part of it
is
when he realized he had to.
Well, right, but I mean, when you realize that you have to sublimate a certain amount of your ego, and there's a lot of conversation going on in the interwebs about toxic masculinity and what that looks like, and I would actually make the argument that what we're seeing out of Dal is an evolution out of that.
Absolutely.
So he's kind of I'm sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
No, go ahead, Will.
Well, I guess when I to broaden the conversation of what is exiting toxic masculinity, I kind of think about me seeing Christopher Pike today, like compared to the one 58 years ago, like this, like I kind of like that. But anyway, that's the only comment I was making. Go ahead, Keith.
I feel like somewhere sorry, Keith, but give me a second. I feel like somewhere Anson Mount's twitching because he's like, I'm not masculine enough. Like what? All right, Keith, go.
When you look at, he basically was ready to lead and do everything, and now it's pretty much he's finding his place, he's learning his role, but also learning. It's almost like now he's finally really learning what it's like to be in a crew. And that sometimes you have to suck up a little bit. Like he had to Zeph when he got on the holodeck saying, I came to learn from the best.
And again, he was confused. He's like, oh, okay. He was ready for a talking fight there.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
can we talk about that for a second? Keith, I really love what you brought up here. I really, really love what you brought up here. Can we marry that a little bit to the concept of toxic masculinity and like rejecting that?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
He's understanding that if he wants to be the guy, he's got to earn it. And it's not him just automatically assuming he is the guy already. And that's a huge leap for Dal, realizing it.
Right. That's tremendous. And again, it's there's a really subtle critique going on here, guys.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I love it as a mom to boys because I can let my kids watch this evolution.
Oh, definitely.
I was actually been meaning to ask about that. Did my nephews ever get a chance to watch this season?
They did watch up to this point, but it's getting a little scary for them. They're still not quite old enough, I think, or mature enough. I don't know. Keith, are you having that issue with your girls?
When I can get them to sit down and watch it with me, they're drawn to Lower Decks. Prodigy, it's kind of like my oldest will watch it with me, but kind of just. I went to put it on today. She was homesick with me while I was on lunch break, and she asked if we could switch to a movie that she really wanted to watch instead. Now the movie was Hidden Figures, so I have no problem with that. But
I mean, mad props to her.
Yes. I mean, Hidden Figures. That's a massive movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm over here snapping like in mad props.
But... Right? Yeah. Like nice.
Well, and you think it'd be the other way around? Like you think the children would like Prodigy more than they would like Lower Decks?
I mean, when you have one parent who works in the Library of Congress and the other one who's a lawyer, you're gonna get some big.
My daughters are 13 and 11, so the kiddie stuff is outside of their. Okay. No, they look at Prodigy as a kid show.
Yeah, for sure. My kids would be like not at all about Hidden Figures because they would be very confused.
Yeah, like why are people treated this?
Well,
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't get it, which is amazing because I mean, they grew up with their Uncle Will, right? Like,
my oldest daughter is now leaning towards engineering as a study. Oh. So, and she's a few years away from college, but she's coming up with her plans. And like, Virginia's the one high school in our district is one of the top high schools in the country, the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Engineering. And she's trying to get on. I mean, she's in 8th grade, so she's got to. If she's trying to get her science and math grades up, and try to get into that school next year.
That's awesome. More STEM. More STEM.
Yeah.
So she had watched Hidden Figures at school, and then asked if I could put it on for her. So I threw it on, and then got back to work, but. Just knowing how she's drawn to those kind of stories, and we could have a real conversation about how things were back then and why certain things are said and done a certain way in that movie.
It's really
just
done
because
well.
It's not her lived experience,
right?
I mean, she knows. We're growing up in Northern Virginia. She has friends and neighbors of all different backgrounds and cultures and things. So the even idea of anything segregated is as alien as anything we see on Prodigy.
And that's phenomenal. I mean, this is not to say that we don't have further to go, because we do, but it's phenomenal to think of it in those terms.
Well, yeah, my I interviewed my grandmother, and she would talk about how like the white kids had buses to school and they always had to walk really far. But she didn't think it was strange because that's just the way everything was back then. That was normal,
I mean, I've got friends who are in, like, their children are being able to learn their indigenous languages. And it blows their grandparents' minds because their grandparents are products of the school systems.
The only thing that I remember, and this is because in Brinkley there were 2 different schools. There was Brinkley High School, and then there was Marian Anderson School. You got the white school, the black school, because they were segregated. And
yep.
So and I didn't know that this year was the 60th anniversary for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So there's that. But anyway, so I asked them as I'm doing these photos of these class reunions. I said, so like, what was it like back then? Like, what did you see? How were you treated? Like, I'm asking you because, and now mind you, everyone in these class reunions are 70 plus. So
yeah, and I thought everything was in black and white.
Right, exactly. Like the things didn't even transition to color until like 2002.
Right.
Not even then. Actually, no, 2007, because my yearbook was 2007. It was all black and white, and then 2008 we had color.
No, I literally thought the world was in black and white. Like,
so apparently
it was sepia toned.
Oh, sepia tone. Yeah. We went from monochromatic to sepia tone, then we had color. But I asked us, and they said they didn't really want integration. They didn't want it either. I asked them why, and they said on top of the racial component, because we just don't like each other. That was number one. Number two, it would mean that all of those black teachers in that black school district would end up losing their jobs.
Yeah,
and they did.
Yep. Yeah, we're getting way off topic here, but yeah, it was a search for equality. They weren't looking for end segregation. They just want separate but equal was not equal, and that was their whole case.
Right.
And what the Supreme Court case ended up doing was taking away separate.
Yeah.
Right, and not imposing equal. Well done. But I don't want to think that this is too far off topic, because one of the major themes of last season was Dow having to negotiate the impacts of him being an augment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we haven't seen any of that to this point. I don't know if we do later, but to this point in the season,
He just mentions
but I think that's important. Like, I think it's important that we acknowledge that, Dal is also wrestling with a lot of these things. Like, and when I talk about schools for Indigenous folks, I'm still talking about residential schools.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, if you don't know, is where Indigenous children were taken from their families and taken to schools where they were taught not to use their culture, not to use their language, and basically taught to as a way to commit cultural extermination.
Yep.
So, actually, yeah.
He mentioned it. He said he's an augment, like me when he's talking about Bribble. Is it Bribble? Yeah.
Yes, Bribble.
Mentioned that Bribble was an augment, just like him. That's kind of the only time it was mentioned.
Right. I mean, it's kind of an interesting. That's also an interesting sort of comment on where we see ourselves in the far-flung future, right? Where prior to this, Dal had to wrestle with this extraordinarily inappropriate racism. Not that racism is ever appropriate, by the way. But now that Starfleet has accepted him, it just sort of seems to be like this. We're just not gonna talk about that this season. Well, and if I have a mild disappointment with Prodigy, it's that.
That the otherism in season 1 was so stark because for the first half of the season is we have no idea what you are, and that's weird.
Right.
And so there was sort of like his whole search for who he was and period just seemed like it was going a certain way, and then when it found out he's a genetically modified thing, all of a sudden it becomes a whole nother problem.
It's like his entire existence is illegal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in essence.
Exactly.
But in this episode, they sort of move that along quickly, and he's accepted in Nova Squadron.
I wonder how much of that is Majel, because like Majel has been, Majel kind of came out of nowhere to be the dark horse hero of the season. By the way, like she started out as the prissy Vulcan that we all knew from Enterprise. Right.
I think a lot of it's her.
I was kind of wondering because I was kind of worried that in adding Majel, they were going to take away someone else. That's what I was worried about, but they didn't do that.
No. Majel has integrated very nicely, even if she's not sure she has.
Yeah. Current Star Trek is doing pretty well with bringing in a female Vulcan. Because T'Lyn has fit so well in on Lower Decks as well.
Are you saying that we've had exactly 0 situations involving decontamination gel?
Yes.
I think they're trying to make up for that.
You haven't seen the rest of the season, so
I mean, somewhere. Let me show you on like where's your discovery, Keith? There it is. Because Jolene Blaylock needs to show us on the nacelles where that scene touched her and why she was so mad.
Yes. Do I need to ask Bakula about that on Sunday?
Now, do you think
you do. I swear you do, and I need you to film that for us.
Yeah.
You just don't know, my friend.
Oh, you're going to release Scott Bakula?
Yes. Scott Bakula is in DC for the nenext week, performing a one-man show at Ford's Theater. He's performing Mr. Lincoln, a comedy bio play at Ford's Theater of all places. So
I know.
I found out about that last week, and I was like, "We have to go." And both of my girls were like, "Yeah, we have to go."
That's phenomenal, and I'm so envious.
Yeah. So
I am actually so envious.
If there's any chance I can get to talk to him, I'll have my phone out for audio, and I'll get one of the kids to film video.
Especially since we're not going to get any where we are, we're not going to get any Star Trek personalities coming until January when Anthony Montgomery comes.
Well, what's crazy to think is that we had AwesomeCon, this giant Comic-Con wannabe convention, and there were no Star Trek people at all. Tony Todd was supposed to be there, but he had to cancel last minute. and then William gets, John gets Q, gets Riker, gets all these others.
I tried, but I said, yes, well, you know what? I'm just gonna jump on the Star Trek cruise and just get them all at once, like just to make up for.
That's what we need to do. That's what we need to do.
Star Trek cruise.
As a podcast, we all need to like book and like get together. Will, I call you dibs as my roommate.
I would love that because oh my god, the tea and the bourbon would be so lit. But to bring it back, if I may bring it back to a certain character who's been my favorite, one of my favorites this entire season, Zero. OMG. Because I have this photo right here. Love the body, love it, love everything. Now this is the same one. Yeah, go ahead, Marie.
Can we just talk about how phenomenal that performance has been? Like Angus and Brie has just been, I mean, amazing.
Yes.
Like we have asked so much of him. Like this episode, these two episodes are really awful, right?
Yeah.
Because we literally have to watch Zero sacrifice everything they've ever
again.
Yeah.
Like twice. They sacrificed themselves twice. And I'm going like, oh my word. Like, now it's not to say, I'm not trying to say that like the Prodigy crew is like always getting into shit and Zero's are always getting them out. I'm not trying to put it like that. But at the same time, bro, they're going in gung ho, like really giving their everything, even what they love the most for their friends.
Now, does it feel different for you to have this character as a humanoid than it does a, what do you want to call it, robot?
No. Like they're not. No, I mean, even intellectually knowing that Zero was not going in and going to perish, it was just knowing what Zero was giving up and sacrificing to save everyone.
It seemed to me though like he would have been the first one to break down. It seemed just a little odd because
well, the one that could have done it and not broken down was unfortunately on the Protostar, and that's Murph.
Right.
And as Marie pointed out, season 1 was Deus Ex Murph whenever.
This is also, by the way, Will, this is also what we need to add to like our t-shirt repertoire.
Writing it down. I got my pen and paper this time.
Hey, did you notice that they pulled the
I want a Deus Ex
Jaeger
Murph
maneuver?
t-shirt. Sorry,
what was that?
Sorry, Jason.
No, did anybody notice that they pulled the Jaeger maneuver?
The Jaeger maneuver?
Yep.
Well, these two episodes were probably some of the richest for references and Easter eggs that we've had of Prodigy.
Yes. And we're going to take the last 10 minutes and we are going to turn Keith loose with all the Easter eggs. But I do really want to talk about this because these episodes before we get to that, because I think it's really important to talk about them, because I think we're actually seeing a very strong pivot thematically.
Yeah.
Like we've been kind of doing this sort of bizarre space scavenger hunt up until this point, and then we end up in Challenge of the Ancient Empires. I realize I'm old, but surely I'm not the only one who watched that game show. In the ziggurat, and then we have that sort of like weirdly fun romp with the evil whales.
Yeah.
Right.
But now we're pivoting, and I like the idea of the loom a lot, but like what I love about this is we are also dealing with a purely individual, not existential crisis, right? Like Ascension is a problem.
And a problem we seem to have forgotten about completely.
Yeah.
Over the past few episodes.
Well, if you look at what they've done up until Ascension 1, is we've had 3 sort of separate stories going. We had the story, who's eating chips? Oh, we had the story with Ascension, and then we sort of moved on to, I kind of want to say the story about Wesley in the Loom, and then a story about Chakotay. We've kind of had three stories, and we've merged them all now together.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get to see what they do with that moving forward.
Well,
Also, keep going.
Just the fact that they were getting ready to do the whole thing near Solem, they weren't thinking about her at all. They weren't thinking about.
Nope.
They not only us as viewers, weren't thinking about her. They weren't thinking about her. And she has announced herself in as grand a fashion as I can, and
right.
And the references on that too, without getting into it being a pure Easter egg, but the idea that ship looks like just a big version of the Red 12, and of course we find out it's called Red 1.
Right. But can we talk about what happens to Wesley though?
Okay. Yeah, how did she get?
Because we've got about 9 minutes before we have to go into Keith's a 10-minute long Easter egg rant, because I know you're I know you're holding on to that, my friend. I do.
Okay, I can hold.
Okay, all right. But let's talk about this, and let's talk about the really uncomfortable ramifications of what's happening to Wesley here. Yeah. Wesley loses his. He loses his bodily autonomy. He loses his mental autonomy.
Yeah. He loses everything. It's like some sort of weird assimilation thing going on.
Okay,
but is it just assimilation? Is it just assimilation though, Will?
No, he's been enslaved.
Yes.
I think it's not fair that they didn't show us how that happened.
I think it's unfair that Will's not sharing his Oreos, but
right.
Yeah, but I'm judging you a little because they're not double stuffed, so clearly you have taste issues. But
people think I love double stuffed. I'm good. I like the single one. I do.
It's too much cream.
Do you now?
Too much stuff.
I do. And sometimes I like the chocolate, and then other times I like the vanilla. It just depends on what I'm feeling that day.
I mean, I really feel like you need to broaden those horizons, my dear.
But no, for real though. I thought they did go into how Wesley was captured. Not Moopsie. Leave Moopsie out of this. But I could have sworn wasn't this the two part of it?
This is a very different podcast now.
Oh God. But wasn't this the two-parter that went into as it was either the B or C plot that went into how Wesley got captured? Or is that the next episode?
I think it's the next episode because
okay, oof, my bad.
Because we basically get a sense that Wesley semi allows himself to do this and is feeding essentially toward the end of it, or have I skipped ahead? I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
He fed her false information. He only showed her one future.
Mm-hmm.
She saw the Voyager A being destroyed by the weapon, and she didn't know that it could be turned back on her.
No.
What? Yeah. Will, you don't know what the Jaeger maneuver is?
Dude,
the only thing, every time you say that, I just am sitting over here going, "Oh dear God," because I'm thinking Jägermeister.
I was literally thinking Jägermeister. Half the people I know back at home drink Jägermeister.
And if you ever look at the bottle, it's literally an O with a deer in the middle, and there's a cross over the deer, so it's "Oh dear God."
Yeah, it's a green bottle.
Someone is making bad life choices.
You were gonna bring that up later, Keith? Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be part of the Easter eggs. Don't worry.
Okay. We still have 7 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting Jason to stay on topic here.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Or
right,
no, he wants me to switch
we end up with we end up with Wesley Crusher. Wesley Crusher, who by the way has been kind of scatterbrained this entire season.
Yeah, he's been much more Will Wheaton than Wesley Crusher.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of over here going. I joke a lot that I'm not sure if I have ADHD or if I'm just an exhausted mom, but I cannot walk into a room and remember why I'm there anymore. And I feel a little bit like
Will. Mom, trust me, I'm there with you.
Right. And so I'm just kind of wondering if maybe that's what Will Wheaton is channeling for his older Wesley Crusher.
Yeah. Will is older than Jason.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's older than Patrick Stewart was the first couple seasons of Next Generation. So,
most
and
that
blows my mind. Also, I am not gonna let Will Wheaton come after us for calling him old, so we're just gonna keep on going.
No, he's fine with it. I've been reading all of his stuff on Medium and Tumblr. So.
Well, you got to understand too. He's probably had a lot of interesting experiences, rather than being the lowest person on the totem pole in the ship, but the most intelligent.
Yeah, but I think he's juggling so many different versions of reality right now in his head that it's impeding his ability to function.
I mean, I kind of like this because does this not remind you of Doctor Strange a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like of
you're
all
the you're gonna have to try that out for me though.
I will. Yeah. So not necessarily part of Endgame now, but like specifically in the Infinity the first Avengers one.
Infinity War?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Basically he sacrifices himself because he knows that specific outcome needs to happen in order for them to win. So what I'm kind of battling, and I'm skipping over how Wesley got captured, is did Wesley allow himself to be captured because he knew feeding the wrong information to Ascension would guarantee the outcome they're looking for?
I mean, doesn't he say that?
Yeah, essentially. So that's what I'm saying.
But also, if he hadn't been captured, she wouldn't have been able to do that in the first place because she wouldn't have that ship.
Right. I mean, because she's literally pulling traveler science from his brain. That's why she's able to create these time bubbles in which the Valnakat are creating these incredibly advanced ships and weapons and upgraded dreadnoughts with exactly 0 form factor improvements.
But I will say, go ahead.
No, it's like, well, what's to improve on? It works pretty well.
I always love how they're always in these battles with all these asteroids around and all these.
I mean, we are about to get another moon in the form of an asteroid, so I'm getting the feeling that asteroids are fairly common.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how you define common. I don't think they're close together at all.
I mean, again, we are getting a brand new moon.
Yeah, we technically have a second moon now.
Yeah. For the next...
has the asteroid already entered orbit?
No, it'll be next week.
Okay.
You won't be able to see it, I don't think, without a telescope.
I mean, that says to me they're more common than we think, right?
Yeah.
They're on average about 600,000 miles apart.
And this particular asteroid or a small moon we're going to get is 10 meters wide.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm going to need like some sources.
I was just I don't know what I read because I read that today, but I forgot. Well, anyway, back to Wesley. I'm not a parent, but
you got 2 minutes, Will.
I got it. I'm not a parent, but if I were, I would have like a little bit of a hard time. As a Trekkie, I loved Prodigy season 2. I'm here for it. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. But I don't know if my children can be able to handle the second half of season 2 because now I'm looking at Wesley Crusher who's enslaved, and then Zero who dies again. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know, Marie. How do you like feel about like how much they're pushing the envelope here? We
had to have a very real conversation about why what was happening to Wesley was so terrible, and I glossed over the torture part because there's 6, and that's just no.
Yeah, it's a bit much. Yeah.
But we talked a lot about how when your parents tell you things that you need to do, it's because they have your best interests at heart, and because for the most part, they fundamentally want what's best for you. But that's not always true. And so when you force someone to do something, that takes away their ability to be a person. It was a really complicated situation and a really complicated conversation that I was not expecting to have at 6 years old with my boys. Not gonna lie. But I think it was a good one because it ended up sort of yielding a lot of really good empathy lessons. Right? We were concerned about how Wesley was feeling. We were concerned about how Wesley was going to be able to engage with other people, and you know, and that's actually been useful for conversations later down the road. Like, for example, hey, like, you can't take something that someone else has, because now you're sort of interfering in their autonomy. So that's it. It was a really complex conversation that I had with my kids, but it's paid dividends, especially with how Prodigy treated the subject matter.
Okay. All right, Keith, you're up.
Well, I was just thinking that, I mean, giving my kids, considering lessons on that involve slavery and sort of fundamentalism and some of these other things, this is a lot of stuff that comes right out of Christian theology and religion. And we haven't raised our kids with any sort of religious background, but they know some of the stories, and they know about the ideas of sacrifice and how people have been mistreated. And of course, they studied American history, so they know very well about slavery and how people have been used and abused.
Yeah, I would imagine several. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just, and I mean, look at what is around Wesley's neck. I mean, it is essentially chains. Compare that to, this isn't a perfect connection, but let's say the monster from from Frankenstein or the Mel Brooks Young Frankenstein. How he's being held down. Of course, now it's not just chains; it's the machine actually hooked up to him. But
yeah,
and the imagery is comparable.
I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, I really don't think it's accidental that we've got Wesley in a yoke and on his knees.
Oh yeah. When you say it that way, definitely he's a beast of burden.
Right. I mean, because it's around his neck, it's all controlled, and you know, like, he's on it. I mean, yeah, like there are a number of ways to visualize that, and that's the visual iconography they chose, because they're asking. I mean, I really think that on some level, the Prodigy folks are asking us to think about that.
But considering what we've seen in previous iterations of Star Trek, when you've had like the Anar in Enterprise, when the helmet that he'd have to wear to control the Romulan ship, you have other people, the headgear that they have to wear. This is very clearly something much more.
I mean, even that awful episode of Strange New Worlds,
right?
Yeah. That I don't want to talk about because it touched me in the bad places on the starship.
The worst bad places.
That was not okay, y'all.
No.
That was a wonderful, wonderful example of how the needs of the few do not always, like the needs of the many, do not always outweigh the needs of the few.
By the way, I found on just a quick check on claimed objects in Earth's orbit. The Atlas team discovered 2024 PT-5, a near-Earth object likely from the Arcturus asteroid belt, expected to be temporarily captured by Earth's gravity and exhibit an orbit with an eccentricity of less than 1 from 29 September till 25th November 2024.
I mean, I was literally checking what you dropped in the chat, and that's why I ended up, like, losing connection.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't realize that you put that in there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, all right,
now
that's really depressing and awful.
Miles
can
apart.
we talk about the cool Easter eggs?
And I don't know. It's just always funny to me when they have them that close together and like zoom in between them.
Huh?
No, I said but in the asteroid belt, they're still always like 600,000 miles apart.
Oh yeah. Yes, that other Star franchise with an asteroid belt. No, asteroids aren't that close together.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but they're always literally going back to the same planet. So
yeah.
Wait,
okay.
They're going back to the same planet.
All right, Keith.
So Ascension Part 1 first. We had references to. You had the Nova Squadron doing their practices. They were practicing the Boothby Supernova.
Yes.
Referencing Boothby, the groundskeeper at Starfleet Academy. You had references to binars. You had the Daystrom Institute is to build a new body for Zero, but no, Jankum will take care of it. You had the Admiral calling them back because of how things were overstretched with the Romulan evacuation, but as well as the result of the living construct. And of course, the A500s barely keeping things protected. So you have another reference to season 1 of Picard. You have the Department of Temporal Investigations. You have Jankum mentioning a dichronium cloud creature, which is the first on-screen reference of what was the evil cloud from the TOS episode Obsession, which had attacked the Farragut and nearly killed young Lieutenant Kirk. And then when they come across it again at Tycho 4, he and one other crew member who we had seen in season 1, Ensign Garavik, who we saw in season 1 of Prodigy, what happened to him. So that's another reference back to that episode.
Oh my god! Do you know I missed that question on a test recently? Like whether he was ensign or lieutenant. I was so mad.
We have once again the joke that the Lurian is never allowed to talk, but always everyone's talking about how much the Lurian won't shut up.
Right.
Because Grom. First of all, we found out that Grom is actually female. Didn't realize that. And apparently, according to the cast list, Grom is voiced by Michaela Dietz, the same voice actress that performs for Majel.
Oh.
But all we got was when Grom was knocked to the floor by the explosion while in the hallway.
I see.
Yes. But yeah, when they were doing the maneuvers in the holodeck, Zeph said, "All right, enough for the chit-chat, Grom."
Yeah, he did.
Immediately shut down. You have the Nova Flyers, which are the Nova Flyers Mark II, as they said, designed by Lieutenant Paris. So, Lieutenant Paris, not Nick Locarno?
Yeah.
It's not Lieutenant Locarno, we know that.
Yeah, Nicholas Locarno.
But it's funny how they did that because Nova Squadron was Locarno's crew back when Wesley was in the Academy.
Are we making a mild nod to the fact that it's literally the same actor? I think we might.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Of course, we have the Rev 1, just like we had the Rev 12 last season. You had one, and I love the reference to the first time they saw those communicators being the one that future Janeway came back in that Endgame, the final episode of Voyager. That Chakotay pointed out, like, yeah, the first time we saw this, yeah, was the last day we were on the old Voyager. Just a beautiful little reference like that. I mean, that scene just, I feel like any other show. I mean, if the writers didn't really care about Star Trek as much as they do, we wouldn't have gotten that beautiful little scene there of them looking over those. But then, of course, you look at the writing list for these episodes, and it's basically the entire writing staff. This part 1 was written by Eric McNamara, Jennifer Moreau, Deandra Pendleton Thompson, Keith Sweet II, and Aaron Balke. While Ascension Part 2 was written by Alex Hansen. So Part 1 with all those different beats and scenes, you had basically half the writing crew putting that together.
I just want to be in the writer's room one day.
Going over to the second episode, of course, you have once again the Boothby Supernova, and yes, they do have the Jaeger loop, which was the thing they said they were going to do in First Duty, what Nova Squadron was going to do, but it wasn't actually what they were going to do. They said they were going to Colvin Starburst which is how poor Jason got killed.
Also named for the first person to break the sound barrier, right?
Yep, Chuck Yeager. You had more reference to that. You have, of course, Dreadnought. Let's see, chronometric distortions, Cerebrusian gene therapy as a way to try to save Zero. Let's see. I had some of this stuff written down, but let's see. Oh, and then of course you have the Andorian deity Yuzave. That was a poll.
Right.
Dog bark. I had to make sure nobody was in the house.
I mean that's beta material. That wasn't even alpha material of the idea of the Andorian gods. But here you have Tyson saying, "Great Yuzave."
I have loved Tysus. I'm not gonna lie.
What I missed?
Easter eggs. We're doing Easter eggs.
Oh, I know.
Well, yeah, and of course you saw rapid aging, which we've seen before. Now, whether or not they're going to try to cure him by just putting him in the transporter, no, it's not, they're going to try to do the gene therapy. And of course, we have Zero going back to being in one of their suits, although it looks a little bit more Android style, like the version that we got at the end of season 1 and was destroyed earlier in the season was more the Apple Store style. So now we got the Android style.
We got an upgrade.
You're not wrong, Keith. No. You're not wrong. Steve Jobs was channeled for the design of that.
Yes. Let me see. Anything else I'm missing? There probably is. Yeah. And of course, the continued references to how stretched thin they are, and of course, noticing once again that space is freaking huge, and you can't just immediately get from one place, get from Earth out to wherever, and like they acknowledged how far away Solemn was for Gwen to go there in the first place at the end of season 1, and now here they are close to Solemn, and like, yeah, it's still freaking far away.
I mean, cough, cough, Abrams verse, 30 minutes to Vulcan, cough, cough. Sorry, I don't know where that came from.
I'm kind of confused about, because he said they were busy with the Romulan evacuation. I thought the Starfleet didn't want to have much to do with that. Or
you're getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah, we're at this point we don't know that yet.
But yeah, remember it's when the Sims not the Sims, what do they call them?
I mean, I thought they were the Sims.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just gonna call them androids at this point. So
yeah, the androids.
It was rogue synths, not
synths. Oh, okay.
Yeah, what the First Contact Day massacre when the rogue synths take out Mars. That's when Starfleet pulls out of the Romulan evacuation. We're not there yet.
Okay.
So this is still pre the flashback scenes of season 1 of Picard.
Yeah, Mars isn't on fire.
Yes. So this is we now know for certain we are after where we are in Lower Decks, but before even the flashback scenes of season 1 of Picard. So at this time it's supposed to be Captain Worf on the Enterprise, whatever the heck's going on there. But yeah, Picard is on the Verity, which is a Odyssey class starship, and trying to save the Romulan people.
God.
And of course, more of that will pick up as we go forward. The next episode being, what's it called? Brink. And Brink, and then Touch of Grey. And then we have the 2-part season finale, Ouroboros. Or Ouroboros.
I am not ready for this to be over.
No.
I am not. And everybody, I need you to go back and watch the entire thing at least twice because we want Netflix to pick up an additional season.
Yes.
Yep.
I'll watch it on a completely different TV or something.
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
Just watch it again.
It doesn't matter. Just watch it again.
All right. I'll watch it again and I'll tell the friend group, hey, leave it on all night, okay? Please. And hit the double like.
And by the way, if you're looking for something else to watch, you should be able. I could not find it on Hulu when I looked yesterday, but Celebrity Family Feud this week it featured the Star Trek versus Deadliest Catch, in which you had Winston Cruz, Will Wheaton, Celia Rose Gooding, Shaniqua Martin Green, and Don Lewis.
Oh, that sounds fun.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Like, as a concept, like pitting Star Trek against the Deadliest Catch.
Well, according to Will Wheaton, they bombed.
Really?
Yeah, he was on the various social media sites afterwards saying, "I am so sorry. We tried so hard. No, it's just not good."
Family Feud is a niche skill set.
Well, especially current Family Feud. Family Feud the Family Feud that's now becoming out is nothing. It's way more adult than the Family Feud we had when we were growing up.
Oh dear.
Back with the Family Feud when we were growing up, only the host was creepy. Now, the questions and the answers are all,
because they get a lot of views. Those are the ones that get the views.
I think
on YouTube.
I think that changed.
So my nightmares have new fodder. Do we have any news that we want to catch in about 2 minutes?
Yeah, just real quick, when they announced the New York Comic-Con panels, there will be a Star Trek Universe panel with Section 31 and Lower Decks. That's Saturday, October 19th in New York City. And then we have LeVar Burton, Kate Mulgrew, and several other Star Trek celebrities lining up to get busy this campaign season, where you have Geeks and Nerds for Harris and the Women of Star Trek for Kamala, both playing star-studded virtual events. The Geeks and Nerds for Harris, which is being hosted by Wonder Woman Linda Carter on September 24th, and Women of Star Trek for Kamala on October 3rd, hosted by Stacey Abrams. The only other bit of Trek news I saw today was James McAvoy was asked about why he turned down a chance to be in Star Trek. And he had said he was more than willing to come be on Picard as a young Patrick Stewart, to be young Jean-Luc. But apparently he was being considered for the 2009 movie, and he had a role in mind, and then they called him they said, "We want you to test for a certain role." And when he got told what the role is, he said, "No, thanks, I'm not interested." So that's led everybody to question what did he turn down, and it's pretty much agreed that he wanted Scotty, and they didn't want him to play Scotty.
Wait a minute, you turned down the Scottish man?
Yeah, to play Scotty, yes.
I'm confused.
We love the new Scotty because he's actually Scottish.
Well, yeah, the new Scotty, but the JJ Scotty is English, doing a pretty fair Scottish accent.
I mean, to be fair, Peg's wife is Glaswegian.
Yes, she would. Yeah, he would be out on the street if he did it poorly. But the fact that you had a Scotsman with a pretty good pedigree behind him and a love of the franchise, that you didn't see fit to want to cast him as Scotty. Okay.
Choices were made.
Yes.
Choices were made. Although, I mean, mad props to Simon Pegg. He's been fantastic.
Yes. And yeah, you got to give credit for Simon Pegg. Not just, yes, he was great as Scotty. McAvoy might have been a bit better, but because we had Pegg, we got Star Trek Beyond. Because Pegg wrote that with Doug Young. We would not have had Star Trek Beyond. Right. The original plan for the third movie was something much, much worse, according to everyone who have claimed to have read the treatment.
I mean, you can't see my shocked face, but I bet you know what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, I thought I knew where they were going after the second film, but I hated the second film so much that I was fine with them diverging from that.
Yeah, I didn't like what they did with the second film.
Yeah. The second film is all about drones are bad with trutherism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pass. Anything happy we can think of before we roll that beautiful bean footage?
By the way, we do have a movie this year that does a fitting remembrance of the scenes from the end of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, whereas Into Darkness didn't do so well, and that being Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh,
I love that when he said, "Perhaps I'm Spock."
I didn't see it.
I love everything about that movie.
All right, folks. As always, like, subscribe, comment, and follow. We will be finishing Prodigy and then moving into Lower Decks. So if you have anything you'd like to see us talk about, thoughts, comments, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we got Lower Decks Season 5 starting October 24th. And so we are only 4 weeks away from Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll be wrapping up the last 4 episodes of Prodigy, doing our recap of the season, and then getting ready to stay animated.
All right, folks. Beautiful bean footage.
Wait, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you being right now? I gotta know.
I'm serious, dude. You got
like 10 out of 10 serious, or picking on Michael serious? Which one?
There is no temperature in space. It's not cold.
What are you serious?
Okay, wait.
Who is? Oh dear God! It just got better.
Because you said his name.
Welcome to the party, Michael.
No, that is not how we're going to end the episode because Keith actually has like a legitimate news update. He knows shit, and we should possibly like convey that knowledge.
That's my favorite line. He knows shit.
It's just like a black and red mound. It's like.
Why are you describing yourself?
What the hell?
Hello from me.
Hey, Virgil.
Hey,
Virgil.
welcome.
Hello, Virgil. Welcome. Who are you?
Who?